Welcome to another deep dive edition of the Chicks on the Right podcast. Very, very excited. We are kind of fangirling a little bit, let's be honest, about the fact that today's guest is Ami Kozak, who we have shown your videos, I can't even tell you how many times during our show, mostly your impressions, which we'll get to in a little while. But you've recently been doing a lot of commentary, political commentary about the situation in Israel, the horrible attack by Hamas. And so we wanted to talk to you about that too, but also you're a musician. So like, is there anything that you don't do?
I do. I'm also, I mean, I have a PhD and an MD. I'm not practicing anymore, but I might go back. I'm Jewish. I had to. No, I'm kidding.
You play one on TV. Yeah.
But yeah, a creative polymath of sorts. Music. I've done music actually professionally for a longer amount of time. It wasn't until I started doing social media pretty actively that I dove headfirst into the comedy space. I mean, I was always socially having fun doing impersonations, but I discovered the outlet for that through social media, which really kind of pulled me into the comedy world, which has been a lot of fun.
I am so excited because I get to put my tree up November the 1st. And one of the reasons I know you think I'm crazy, but I get this time of year, what I do is I start loading up on Omaha steaks. Like I start buying all the things at Omaha steaks because this is when a bunch of my family starts coming in. I have an onslaught. I have like 3 different sets of family members that comes in. I always have Omaha steaks in my freezer. I whip that stuff out. We grill it up. We got the fillets. We got the chicken. We got the pork chops. We have apple tartlets. We have those for breakfast a lot when people come over. I'm not even kidding. Everybody loves Omaha steaks. It's great to have that stuff on standby in your freezer, ready to go. When you have company, people need to get loaded up right now.
I don't know. I don't even know what took me so long to try the bacon wrapped pork chops. Like what in the world? Oh,
Pork
my
chops
God.
are amazing. I mean, seriously, I have them for lunch all the time. Pop them in the air fryer. I pop them in the air fryer all the time. You guys are so good.
I don't know what took me so long to order those, but they are amazing. Everything that you get from Omaha Steaks, so good. And they're having their semi-annual sale right now, which means everything is 50% off when you go to omahasteaks.com. When you use code CHICKS at checkout, you get an extra $30 off. So please go to omahasteaks.com, use code CHICKS at checkout. Minimum purchase may apply.
TikTok is the place to be, right? Like it just draws you in. So
TikTok was my gateway drug for sure. And I'd been performing on stage as a musician, and I started doing stand up over the past few years, you know, as I started cultivating an audience online.
And when you say you're a musician, you're a bass player, right?
A bass player and vocalist, singer-songwriter, producer. I've written a lot of music that's been on film and television, commercials. I play in a band, and we do a lot of original music that's been used in film and TV as well. So I lived in LA for about 10 years, moved back to the East Coast more recently. But I was very active in the music scene there, and I still am.
And for people that are out there listening, the band is Distant Cousins, correct?
Yes, Distant Cousins.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and you know, we're very, very familiar with all your impressions, and we're obviously going to ask that you do them towards later part of the show. But really what's going on right now in Israel has got you talking a lot, and it's understandable. I mean, you are a Jewish person. You have family that like goes way back and has experienced the Holocaust. I do as well. My dad is also a Jew. And I'm actually named after my great grandmother who died at Treblinka. So I have that same shared history and same obvious concerns. And you have been very, very outspoken. And before we get into some of that, like, can you just talk about any, if any, backlash that you're getting that you may not have expected or maybe that you did?
I think I fully expected it. You know, in terms of numbers, I lost 4,000 followers.
Wow.
Which is fine. Don't feel bad for me. I just find it funny, like, which people out there love Prince Harry impressions, Jordan Peterson, Gary Vee, and Hamas? It's a strange, strange crossover, you know? And I think it really speaks to the moral confusion that's out there. More than the bad actors, of course, there's people who are simply hateful, anti-Semitic, anti-Israel. And then there's a whole swath of people who I think have been persuaded by the narrative out there of Israel as the villain and what's going on in Israel now as Israel-Palestine. Palestine is the perpetual victim, and Israel's the perpetual villain. And they've bought into the perversion of the language surrounding the conflict and don't really understand the history. So, you know, I think it speaks to a lot of them who maybe were uncomfortable with what I was saying, but I stand by it, and it wasn't it wasn't. I have no regrets. I made a conscious choice to veer off of doing comedy and entertainment content because while I understood that, like, people don't follow me for that, and I had this audience here. This went well beyond politics for me. Obviously, because it was personal. This was a personal trauma that I'm connected to a lot of people there, but also in Israel with family and friends going through it. But also, if you come to a point where basic morality is at a clash, it's like on almost a civilizational level, and you're seeing such a perversion of that, then comedy itself, art, free expression, those days are number two. If we don't all agree on certain basic fundamental principles and that gets flipped on its head, then what's the point in any of it, in a way?
Amen
So I sort of felt like you have to seed the territory for a solid foundation in which any of this discourse can occur, interfacing can occur for entertainment. And so I felt the need to take that opportunity to say what I could about it.
Yeah, there are a lot of
I
people
feel like you're doing a lot of educating. Like you're
Oh, yeah.
We've been using your videos in our morning live stream to educate because you're doing such a phenomenal job about explaining, especially because we showed just the other day, you're talking about what the occupation really is. And how do you react to all of the Jewish people who are out in the streets right now protesting on behalf of freeing Palestine? Like, how does a Jew square that?
Well, I want to put this out there first off. Like, I don't want to present myself as a scholar or of this subject per se, and it wasn't my intention or forte to do necessarily this kind of advocacy online. I sort of felt the need to simply relay my education and knowledge of the subject, my experience of living there. I spent a year there living there, and just it's important that people realize, like, this isn't some tribal allegiance thing. Yes, obviously it hurts personally when Israel goes through suffering because I'm a Jew and I have friends and family there and a connection to the people, the culture, the life, the religion, the community. But that's not why I take the stand from an objective moral standpoint. So I have my understanding of it as I see fit, and I'm trying to honestly present questions and relay information to the best of my knowledge that I understand it. But I also don't want to step into a lane that, not that I'm self-conscious about it, but like that's my intention when I put out this stuff. As far as, I think it goes very deep the way I look at it. I think, perhaps in the furthest left circles you go, there is this reaction when confronted with evil that it's so hard to process and accept that when confronted with it, it's just easier to externalize it. It cannot be that these people really exist that want to just kill Jews because they're Jews. There must be external forces involved. There must be war as simply an ill on existence that exists without attributing accountability to the perpetuators of that and the apologists for that. And there's the term useful idiots. First of all, there's a masochism going on of people who simply, I don't know, feel guilty for existing as Jews. But I also, if I want to give them a little bit of a benefit of the doubt, there's this sense that pacifism as a principle and it is the solution to aggression. And that can't be the case, because if you actually want peace, you have to defeat those who don't want peace. There's active pursuit of violence and aggression against you. And these people simply look at violence in any direction, whether it's they basically are equating self-defense and murder. It doesn't matter who started what. Killing is killing, and killing is wrong no matter what. And I thought of this today. It's almost like everybody agrees, Hamas is a cancer. Cancer is bad. We hate cancer. Nobody likes cancer. Cancer is bad. But they're taking a stand against chemotherapy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
but it's chemo that's hurting. But, so cancer is bad. It's going to kill the patient. If we allow the cancer to spread, it's going to kill the patient. But chemotherapy also kills healthy cells. So we cannot condone chemotherapy. It's wrong because, there's all these other cells that don't have anything to do with the cancer, but you have to fight the cancer. And this is just a choice based in reality. I think the people who are good-hearted and have empathy for people are just not basing their positions in reality, where you have a situation on the ground and the choices in war are bad and worse, and you have to prioritize your self-defense when people are committing atrocities and acts of violence against you, initiating. That's the key distinction. They're like, the cancer will spread if we don't fight it. We have to do chemo. But the chemo makes the patient sick, and the optics are terrible, and it's a terrible thing to witness. But we have to kill the cancer. It's like, yeah, the cancer's bad, but no, we stand against chemotherapy. You know, like that's what it sounds like to
Yeah.
me when I hear them talk about that. We're against chemotherapy because it kills healthy cells too. And I'm like, and I'm not trying to downplay the tragedy of it. I'm saying you have to channel your rage and attribute the accountability to those who caused this. Take just this week and a half, for example, as an isolated event in and of itself. Obviously, if you're just reviewing the sequence of events, every single innocent person that's been killed, Israeli and Palestinian, they were alive on October 4th, 5th, and 6th. If you value those human lives that have been lost, channel your outrage in the right direction. What caused them to die? You know, and what brought this on? So,
you'd say that you're not a scholar though, but
I'm not.
But some of the videos that you put out would be really useful at places like Harvard. You know, I mean, because a lot of a lot of the young people, because you talk about the people who want to just externalize all the evil, right? I mean, a lot of the people that I think that you're talking about, because my brain goes to younger people, because we're old broads. And so I think about.
I said too quickly. I'm sorry.
But no, it's totally fine. It's totally fine.
I did pick up on that, by the way.
It's okay. Because we've got kids who are of college age, or I've got one that's 13. She's got one that's getting ready to go to college, and I have some kids that are older. Right. And so we've been through the college, and we see college kids who are just clueless, and they don't recognize evil when it is right there. It's just right there staring them in the face. And I don't know why that is. I mean, we could probably do a series of podcasts on that, right? We could talk about why that is, but
I have thoughts on that. I think that, I've read a lot of Thomas Sowell. I think this is his quote. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. Maybe he was quoting it from someone else. But there are some ideas that are so ridiculous, only an intellectual would say them or believe them. And there are ways to pervert people's common sense of decency with these grand intellectual ideas. And there's a lot of, if you look at the history, the root causes of a lot of atrocities, they stemmed from ivory towers and elite institutions that started with bad ideas. This idea of, and in order to get large amounts of good-hearted people to believe them, what you have to do is convince them that what they're doing is actually virtuous and good. The people committing atrocities, there are people who are psychopathic, sociopathic, that would commit murder and atrocity no matter what. And then there's people who would excuse that behavior or celebrate that behavior because it's put into a framework of a distorted morality that what these people are doing is actually virtuous. And that's one of the most dangerous ideas out there. And that's why there's this effort to dehumanize Israelis, call them colonizers, dehumanize Jews in Nazi Germany, call them vermin. There's this idea that we are purifying. We are, these ideas that exist in intellectual circles that permeate and are sort of perpetuated in academic circles. Like that is what creates this foundation for complete moral bankruptcy. And then you have people to the point where they're ripping down posters of kidnapped kids. And it's like,
insanity.
What side are you on here? Like, what are you talking about? So when you view things through those lens, and also not judging people as individuals who are sovereign, individual respect for individual rights, when you rather look at people in collective groups, they're only part of these identities and we're just part of these tribal actors. We're going to designate this one as the oppressed and this one as the oppressor. And how do we know that this one is the oppressor? Because it's more prosperous, because it's more virtuous, because they have a higher standard of living. They must be bad. So the second you try to prove the point that Israel is more moral because of how it treats its citizens, you almost push people who are anti-Israel away, because their morality is based on the fact that to the extent to which a society is morally superior and has better standards and principles, they're worse. And to the extent that a society doesn't respect individual rights and is repressive, it's an oppressed society. It's better, So until you kind of I try my hardest to think about it and identify those elements that are making people completely morally confused and perverted about this.
Yeah.
But it's a good point that you had about how so many good-hearted, well-intentioned people can fall into this trap, because, we talked about that like a week ago. There was a tweet from Michael Knowles about that, equating BLM.
Clearly.
God, I was just waiting.
But
clearly, that's the only word I can say, Michael. Clearly, because that's interesting, because clearly,
You'll get there. You'll perfect that one. I know you will.
Clearly.
But he talked about the symmetry now between BLM and this whole pro-Palestine thing. And you know, I had reposted it just saying because it made me think about all the people who I know personally who immediately posted the black square during the George Floyd hullabaloo, and I was like, don't you know that this organization is a grift and they are openly Marxist, and yet you don't even care because you're so caught up in wanting to feel good
and
about
virtue
putting
signal.
out and virtue signal and put out your black square on your social media. All of this reminds me of that. It's the same sort of hyper, oh my God, I got to get a message out that makes me look like I care the right way. And these are good people who I would hope now look back at that and think, wow, was I really snowed? And I have to believe that there's lots of people in the Jewish community who are really taken aback by the reaction of BLM, for example, who's been so cruel, posting the hang gliding pictures and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
You would think because it was a lot of Jewish people who stood up for BLM who are probably now like, wait a minute, Amy Schumer is one of them. She's like, how come I stuck up for you? What are you doing?
There's definitely a deep sense of betrayal, I'm sure. The truth is, if I'm being really, it's hard to remove yourself from that. If I'm being really honest with myself, I'm not exactly aware of, and I'm not excusing anything. I just, in terms of to the extent that which BLM as an organization is this centralized organization that has one message that it's putting out versus these different ones, I want to try to make sure I'm just talking about that accurately. But either way, the notion of, I just think the notion that excusing atrocity or apologizing for atrocity because it fits a certain narrative of how you look at things is one of the things that's clarifying and illuminating now is in a lot of times in the past when Israel's been attacked, there's always this obfuscation. There's this way to sort of hide the ball with what's going on. And what you're seeing here is blatant celebration of, let's say, take BLM Chicago. I mean, putting out that image is a blatant celebration and stand in solidarity with the butchering and slaughter of men, women, children, and babies in the name of liberal principles. I mean, it's completely backwards. So a statement like that, I isolate just the BLM Chicago post when they put that out. It's very revealing, where the anti-Zionist movement stems and what the stance is, and it's easier to combat it when it's very crystal clear. So that's the only silver lining I can draw is they are deliberately calling for the extermination of Jews, and from the river to the sea. That means all of Israel proper. These places that were attacked were not disputed territories either. They were part of proper historical Israel, even if you want to go back to 48 or whatever. These aren't in disputed territories to begin with. This is not an effort for a free, sovereign, prosperous Palestinian state. It's clearly an effort to just get rid of a Jewish state.
Right. And
that was just clear as day. And in whatever movements were putting out these things, you could see the thread of, and the thing I could see in common is the excusing of destruction of property, people, and individual rights violations for the sake of some revolution, resistance, cause, because it falls under, remember, we're attributing morality based on those grounds. And you're seeing that thread,
You're seeing it in our elected leaders.
Yeah.
You're seeing it in people like Rashida Tlaib. I mean, this woman was elected. It's disgusting.
That's pretty frightening.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. I mean, we were talking about that this morning, where if you would have seen that during, World War II, the woman is supporting Nazis. It's I feel like our country, we would have been like, yeah, that's not okay.
Well, the way it's funny, it would be funny if it wasn't so frightening. You're seeing modern day Holocaust paired with modern day Holocaust denial, paired with modern day Holocaust celebration.
Yeah.
At the same time, you're the worst crime against Jews since the Holocaust is perpetuated. Mm-hmm. Then when we see the evidence of it, it's denied. And then the evidence that you can't deny is celebrated.
So my mom is coming to visit next week, and I put her little My Pillow pillows on the bed so she's ready to go, because she has those at home, and then she has them on her little bed in our cabin, and so she'll feel right at home in her fluffed up My Pillow pillows because they are the best.
Now, let me ask you this. Are they original or are they the 2.0?
I do not have the 2.0 in the cabin. I have the original, but I have the 2.0 on my bed because I am a diva. I probably need to replace the ones in the cabin. But listen, the originals are fabulous. The originals are really amazing. And I like those. They're kind of old school in the cabin. And then I have the 2.0s in the house. So you can't go wrong with either ones. You
really can't. And besides, your mom is past menopause. You're like in the thick of it. So you need the temperature controlling MyPillow 2.0 version.
Amen, sister.
And that's the beauty of it, right? Like they've taken the original MyPillow and then they've perfected it by making it temperature regulating, which is amazing. And you can get those for 50% off right now at mypillow.com/chicks. And when you use code chicks, you get even deeper discounts on all of the amazing products at mypillow.com/chicks. Or if you are old school and you prefer calling, you can call 800-875-0513 and you can tell the nice people on the phone there that you would like to use the chicks discount there as well. mypillow.com/chicks.
And I go back to the education thing because like my daughter, I live in Texas. Yeah. My daughter is 13. Told you that before. She was doing something in school, long story short, wanted to look up the Holocaust online at school, was blocked. She was blocked, right? Yeah. She couldn't look it up. Why can't you look that up? Why can't you look that up at school? Like it's history, right? Why aren't kids being taught history? Why aren't they being taught history properly?
Right. Well,
that's our history.
The computer at an elementary school, you have to be careful, right? Because you don't want to be able to just type in anything.
She's middle school, right? And she's 13. And I get it. I mean, I understand there's certain things you can look up and certain things you can't. But like to block like pretty much everything, where like the information she couldn't look up anything, and she asked her teacher about it, and her teacher said, "Yeah, that's probably not okay. That you can't."
Do they have any other like Holocaust education within the school? Or?
No, I mean, like she was unable. She had, if anything, she had to just look it up here at home. I mean,
cookies blocking the brush.
You know what I mean? It's like, but that's my point is that we're not
goddamn cookies,
right? Yeah. It's like what it all's in the cloud. Nobody understands the cloud. I mean, but this is the thing is that they're not being taught history from the time that they're kindergarten through 12th grade, and then when they get into college, they're indoctrinated, and so like. These kids they don't get it. They just don't. And then you end up with the kids at Harvard who are completely messed up, who I said that they need to watch your videos because
I think online degrees are about to go way up. You know what I mean? Like,
or just trade school in general.
Whatever. I don't know, but you're seeing this like, and obviously look, we're seeing the negative highlight reel of everything.
Totally.
But at the same time, it's enough people to be super concerned about what, I mean, there's a Columbia professor that published an article in Middle East. I read it myself, and it celebrates a glorious day that occurred on October 7th. And he's there. And, like, can you imagine, like, if, I don't know, take any example. A school shooter went into a school, went into an African-American school and shot up a bunch of people who, hated minorities and committed an act of violence against them, and somebody wrote an article at a liberal arts college praising it. So for some reason, when it's Jews, when it's people put in this scenario, for some strange reason, there's this either like this, it's complicated. I don't know. It's contextualized. Before you know it, it's flipped on its head, and it's the Jews who are at fault for it. They brought it on themselves. What have they been doing? So it's a lot of old tropes that seem to come back. And I was not, even as a grandchild of Holocaust survivors, I always kind of, maybe took for granted being comfortable in the United States. I had friends who were a little more of that Jewish anxiety, paranoia, you never could happen again. I'm like, come on, man. And I'm just like, I can't tell you, like, as a Jew in the diaspora in America, like, I feel really, it's very, it shakes you up to think, like, how quickly it can turn and on a dime and, like, feel a certain sense of, and you look at, like, I don't know, that all the footage from protests in the UK, basically not calling for a free Palestinian state alongside a Jewish state, not calling for coexistence, celebrating Jewish slaughter,
right?
Unapologetically. Right. So that's what the movement is. That's what the liberation movements are all about. The Students for Justice in Palestine. They weren't calling for like, Palestinian self-determination, Palestinian identity, a separate autonomous Palestinian state to live alongside a Jewish state. They were simply calling for the end of a Jewish state and the celebration of the means of doing that by butchering innocent men, women, and children. So like. Yeah. Thank you for revealing yourselves.
Exactly.
Do you have kids that are asking questions about this kind of stuff? Because I know that.
Yeah, for children, I do have little kids. I mean, everything is new for a kid, and when everything is new, it's almost in a way easier for them to see things in a little more clear terms as opposed to like understanding the scale of things. I mean, they break things down as like, good guys, bad guys, people I know, whatever.
Right.
And there's sort of a way they can process it in the sense of a story. So you don't get into details that you don't need to get into, and depending on the age of the child, but you just, you kind of can just make your clear moral stances and, instill a sense of pride in them that, we're fighting for our rights to exist and thrive. And obviously we have family members they're concerned about, but what they do pick up on, there's no question, is just the utter distraction of their parents, like, like on my phone constantly. And I feel bad about it. And they can pick up on that anxiety. Kids are very emotionally intelligent and perceptive. They pick up on all of that. So you don't want to like willfully hide too much, but you don't want to give too much information either. That can cause like real, a sense of anxiety, but you try to, so they're aware of what's going on. They have a lot of they have teachers who are there and friends who are there, and they know there's a war.
You were earlier this week. You were on a Fox News focus group or panel or whatever. Was that the first time?
I never expected to get on Fox and Friends for this. I was supposed to, I was going to do a segment of Prince Harry during the coronation. That
I
would
love
have
my
been
brother.
fun. And just, always, I always like to exist on the fun, lighthearted parts of life. That's a more fun place to be. And and in the end, it was this that brought me there. But yeah, I've not been on Fox and Friends before. There was the talk at one point about coming on to do shtick, which I probably will do at some point. But in the meantime, duty calls, So I was happy to lend my voice to try to provide some utility and clarity in the situation.
Well, you're like us that way, in that that is the whole purpose of our show, is that we know we have to deliver sometimes terrible news, but we do want to bring levity to our audience and to give them something to feel good about before they check out every day. So to that end, let's talk about some impressions, shall we? First of all, I need to tell you, she's going to hate me for this, but Daisy does a Bernie Sanders.
What do you gotta? It's really bad.
It's bad. It's so bad. It's so bad.
No, I love it so much.
It's the worst.
Keep going. Give me one more of
I
those.
feel like you could do it better.
Oh, interesting.
It's so bad, Ami. It's so
Bernie
bad.
Sanders as a Hollywood agent woman who
Right.
smokes.
See? This is the thing. It's so bad. I used to do
You
it on
sound
the
like
radio.
You sound like Joey Tribbiani's agent.
I know. It's so bad. Like, you could do it so much better. You could do Bernie Sanders. Do your Bernie Sanders.
Look, Bernie Sanders. Okay.
See?
We're here having a conversation.
It's
with
so much
chicks,
better.
With chicks on the right, not just to the folks on Wall Street.
See? He could do it
To
so
the
much
folks,
better.
to the folks on Main Street. Is that such a radical idea? Of course, there are chicks on the right, but there's also chicks on the left. There's chicks in the center. There's chicks in the 99% of middle class and working people of this country.
Oh my God, I love
We
it.
want to be chicks on the right side of history, ladies and gentlemen. Is that such
I'm
a
never,
radical idea?
ever doing
I
it
want to
again.
talk about the chicks in Sweden and Denmark.
I'm
Not just the
never
chicks on the
doing
right.
it again. Ever.
No, you have to do it again. Our audience
Can't.
relies on it.
Oh my God, Ami, that was amazing. It was
Maybe
so
you sound
good.
like Bernie Sanders' speaking agent. Okay, Bernie, we got you a gig.
Or like Bernie's like second cousin or
Yeah.
his mother or something.
Bernie,
like
you
that.
Jewish. What are you doing out there? Come on, say a little
Exactly
something.
who I sound
Your
like.
cousin, they just tried to kill him. Why don't you say a little?
Or like
Bernie.
It's like Joan Rivers mixed with Bernie Sanders.
kind
a little
of,
bit of
kind of.
that.
Yeah.
A little bit of Joan.
Don't you dare. Yeah.
I love her.
There
I love
is
her.
nothing that we love more than the Prince Harry. I mean,
Right.
when you say how much you love your brother and you love your family,
Yeah.
we lose it every single
Well,
time.
We can't
I
stand him.
do-
You realize
I
we
do-
can. Yeah, we
I
can't
do love
stand
my
him.
brother and I love my family, but apparently Jewish people are not allowed to love theirs.
yeah, exactly. Right.
That is hurtful. Also, Miriam, why is your hat white? Wait.
It's a dig at him.
Wait.
It is a dig at him. It is.
That's
a
clearly
dig at
clearly a dig at Meghan.
Right. It is. Mhm.
I think, it's a dangerous time, not just for Israelis, but for me and my family. It's a dangerous time, not just to be in Israel fighting, but in Montecito.
It's
very
true.
dangerous time.
It's very, very true. Very,
I'm,
true.
I'm a refugee. I was also kicked out of my home. Very, very helpful.
Yeah.
I can understand that. So I understand the plight.
I didn't realize that you do Trump actually really well.
Oh
too.
my gosh.
Chicks on the right, folks. You're setting me up good. Chicks on the right. You need a red hat. You need to get a beautiful red hat, Miriam. Her grandmother's Jewish. My grandbabies are Jewish. Same thing. Same thing. Skipped a generation, folks. A beautiful generation. We have from the past, the present, everybody, millions and billions of Jews. Chicks on the right. They love me and chicks on the right. I have so many chicks. I've been with so many beautiful chicks. Different chicks. Different chicks. Stormy Daniels. She was a chick. I don't know where she's from. Was she the right to the left? She was everywhere, folks. You remember that?
Oh my god.
You remember that, folks?
Oh my
So
God. It's perfect.
Great.
Yes.
And you're
So-
Jordan. You're Jordan
Yeah.
Peterson.
Yeah,
Phenomenal.
That's so good.
Yeah. Any questions for Jordan Peterson?
What do you do? Well, you could actually. What are you could go over some of your 12 rules for life.
Do you have like 12?
Well, you know, it's like
The-
I don't really like the way the question is formulated.
like, do you have your own 12 rules? Do you have Ami's 12 rules for life?
Yes, absolutely. You know,
Yes.
it's like, well, I stand up straight with my shoulders back, but the problem is I have a dad bod. So when I do that, my gut sticks out, you know, and I can barely see my toes. And you have to see your toes so you can know which direction you're going, so you can orient yourself properly. So it's a contradiction. If I stand up straight with my shoulders back, I feel like a lobster. But if I can't see my bloody toes, I don't know which way to go to orient myself between the lines of order and chaos.
Yes.
It's not simple. It's not.
It's not.
That's what I would say.
So my kids have a German Shepherd. They live in California. They have a German Shepherd named Charlie. Charlie, for years, has had ear problems, like the itchy, yeasty, nasty ear things going on. They've taken him to the vet. They spent like thousands of dollars on this dog. Nothing worked. They had all the drugs, right? All the drugs. And I mean, nothing, to no avail. Sent him coat defense. It's working.
The powder. Are you using
Yes.
the powder or the shampoo?
powder,
or
like
both?
directly, the powder directly in the ears, and then they
Yeah.
wash them with the coat defense and everything else. They've got everything coat defense. It's like a miracle. The stuff is the best, you guys, the best. And the thing about coat defense is that they can lick it off their paws. They can eat it. You can ingest it. The dogs, and it's not going to hurt them. I mean,
And
that's
it's
how
completely safe.
that's how unbelievably natural and awesome that it is. And it helps them with all the itchy, nasty, funky, smelly stuff that they get, and it is magical.
Yeah.
It
and then
truly
if you have dogs that have like the super dry noses or they get those dry cracked feet, they've got this balm just for that, and their shampoo is amazing. They've got all of these amazing things that absolutely cure dogs who people thought were incurable when it
Yes.
comes to itchy, like smelly, rashy skin. So it's worth trying for sure, and you can save 15% at coatdefense.com. You just enter chicks, the code chicks, when you order at checkout, and you can save 15%. Coatdefense.com. Use code
Chicks, do it. Dogs. I love that. I love
How
the
do you
knot.
do that? Like, how do you get ready? How do you, first of all, choose who you're going to impersonate? And has there been anyone that you wanted to impersonate that you just couldn't master?
I don't choose it. It chooses me.
There's people that you can't. Impressions are kind of like a puzzle piece, you know. And if you can figure out, it takes a second. Sometimes it's an easy puzzle piece. I'm like, oh,
And is there an accent?
boom, right in
Because
there.
like an Australian accent, there's no way I could ever do an Australian accent.
There's words that help get you into an accent, you know.
Really?
Yeah, like relationship. There's a relationship there. You know? There's a relationship, and it's like, you know, and in a lot of Australian accents, they really go up. Every sentence doesn't end like we end down. Like we end a sentence down like this, but in Australia, every sentence goes up in the air like that. If you're gonna go to South Africans are more like that, bro, like magic. Oh, yeah, bro, like that. So like that will get you into South African, relationship will get you in Australian, and then British. Sometimes it's just doing the character. Gordon Ramsay, like, oh, God, oh, Christ, oh, my God, oh, delicious, love that, delicious. Very close to Prince Harry. That's delicious. Oh, lovely, cooking a steak, lovely. Oh, wow, lovely. Oh, smell that, shallots, beans, rice.
Do you do Simon
Lovely.
Cowell?
Actually, I haven't broken that one down. You know, there's like micro. I haven't done a Simon Cowell. That's a good one.
Yeah, you just have to be really super mean. Mean
That's
to
a
people.
no for me. Yeah, you
Right.
But also,
It's just-
impressions are very visual too. It's not just what you hear. It's like, Simon. I haven't.
You just have to
attempted.
put on a really tight T-shirt to do that one.
Yeah, exactly.
some
That's
Botox.
true.
Really,
Yeah,
really
exactly.
tight.
Yeah, he's aging in reverse.
Get a kid's T-shirt, put it on, and then maybe that'll
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
Yeah. Simon, no, I haven't tried that one. But there's like, it's almost like a light switch. Once it clicks, you're like, with Jordan, there's always, like I said, there's little things that like put the puzzle piece in the right place.
Yeah.
You're like, bloody. Oh, bloody. Well, bloody. No. I'm like, oh. And then I'm not even like saying, how do I do a Canadian accent? It's like, not. Oh, okay. And then if you slip out of it, you're like, oh wait, that's what's he saying different? Oh, where, and then you can kind of dissect it. Canadian accents, you can get technical about it, but it's less of a technical thing instinctually. Then you're like, oh, tongue is in front of the teeth or behind the teeth, like left or left. It's the left.
Oh my God.
Left.
You make it sound
Yeah.
easy, but it's not easy. Honey.
If
It's
you
not
have
easy.
to. Also, I can embody people. The impression is very visual. Like,
Well, Prince Harry is you're very, very much in him when you're doing his impression.
Jordan.
Yeah. With the face.
Bernie. Trump.
Yeah. I mean, it's just dead.
I haven't even
on.
said a word, and you're still feeling it, folks. Very visual. It's very much what you see. It's not just what you get. And these hands, I guarantee you, there's not a problem. Not a problem.
He's gotten even more gravelly lately. Like when he's talking about
Yes.
Trump is really the worst in crisis, because in crisis he still can't turn it off and just do that sort of like calming. He's still like, I called, baby. What are you doing, baby? What are you doing? It's terrible. Like if Trump was your therapist, oh, it sounds terrible. That's a lot of trauma. I know how to treat trauma. That's terrible what happened to you. You don't want to see me? I have millions and billions of patients that love me. You don't have to come and see me. Pop a pill, feel a little better, and call me in the morning.
That is like, I swear that's one of your best ones.
Oh, it's really, really good.
It's
what
so
about
good.
Netanyahu? Do you do a BB?
But of course I do, Bibi Netanyahu. What are you talking about? I disagree with the premise of your question entirely. We're at war. Anachnu b'milchama. This is what Israel will defend itself tirelessly, vigorously, relentlessly. And we are not going to
Wow.
sacrifice our children, even though our enemies are willing to sacrifice theirs. We will not abrogate our responsibility. This is where is the apartheid? This is a thriving, robust democracy. If we do not institute this judicial reform, our laws will become ossified. That is
Oh
Bibi
my
Netanyahu.
I was
God.
not expecting that at all. Oh my
That's
God.
phenomenal.
So great.
Phenomenal. Ami, where can people follow you? Where
Yeah.
would you like to direct them to learn more about you, to get your music, to get your
Sure.
comedy?
Yeah, you can follow me online at AJ-Comedy or Ami Kozak Official on Instagram. Same account, AJ-Comedy on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, at Ami Kozak on Twitter. And stay up to date. Be launching a new podcast soon, and stay up to date on that as well.
Awesome.
It's been such
for
a
having
treat.
It
to
really
have
has.
you.
You're a joy
It's
to
been
talk to.
awesome.
Everybody follow him in all the places.
Well,
Do
I
it.
think
Yes.
We successfully modernized the conversation.
Yes. Totally did. Yes. Thank you so much.